right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to, okay, what is today? Today is the 15th of June. Okay, just think in a couple of weeks, we'll be halfway through the year. Is that crazy? Well, we are very fortunate today to have real estate extraordinaire and now local politician, County Commissioner, District F, Heidi Kasama. Welcome to the show, Heidi. Okay, Heidi, if you hit *6, bottom left.
Thanks so much.
There you are.
It's such a pleasure to be here this morning with you.
All right, all right. And congratulations are in order for you.
Yes, it was a hard-fought primary, and thanks to the Realtor family for standing with me and supporting me. I appreciate it so much. And yes, so on to the general. I feel very confident about that, and excited to have served, 6 years now in the Nevada State Assembly as an assemblywoman, and now for the opportunity to be a Clark County Commissioner right back home in our local communities. So I'm excited about that.
That is so awesome. That's great. And I've, since I've been with the company for 12 years, working with you and watching you do what you do, and you're just such a, power of example, hard worker, right? You got your team going and you got that all set up, and you're up there and, solving I was going to say the world's, but at least Nevada's problems.
Trying to. It's pretty difficult.
It's in Carson City where you are, right?
It's pretty difficult. Carson City, yep. So I have to move up there for 4 months, actually, every other year, and we have to stay up when we're in session up there. So, and then I go up there for special sessions, and then I continue to also be part of, we have what we call interim committees. And so I'm on Commerce and Labor, and I'm on, I'm trying to think of it, several other committees, and that we have to go to those committees when we're not in session. So I'm still working, so to speak, as an assemblywoman, because we have these once or twice a month. So we still have to meet and review legislation and get prepared for the next session.
It'd be really interesting if you take them through. So when you're in session, take them through like an average day, what it's like up there. Because I know you guys could go up and watch, but I mean, what is it like? What gets done? Just take us through like a typical day.
So, and thank you for asking that question, because I think most people don't really understand. So I'm in the building, as we say, at 8 a.m., and then we all have committee meetings. And so we go directly to our committee meetings, whatever committees you're on. Again, I've been on finance, commerce and labor, natural resources. And so we go directly to our committees, and then we come back just about like 11:30 from our committee meetings. And then, of course, we have to prepare the night before for whatever bills we're going to have hearings on. And we introduce in the Nevada State Legislature, we probably introduced on average 1,100 to 1,200 bills for a 4-month session. And of those, we pass typically, let's just say 550, a little bit over 500 every year. And so that's a lot of hearings, a lot of research, a lot of review. And so the night before, you're kind of reading your bills that you're going to be hearing in the committee meetings the next day. And then we finish the committees around 11:30. Then we go to what we call our caucus room. So the Republicans go to one room, the Democrats go to one room. And then we review kind of what we call hit the floor. So once you have to get a bill through committees, so you have to listen to it and then decide if you're going to pass it, and then you vote on it. And if it gets voted out of committee, as we call it, then it will go back to the floor for a vote to see if it will, move forward from one chamber to the next. And so we go to our caucus room, and we talk about the bills that will probably come up on the floor for a vote. And once I'm in the assemblywoman, and once we vote on it in the assembly, it goes to the Senate side, and then it starts all over on the Senate side. It has to be read on the floor, read into the history record, so to speak, and then it's passed out to various committee, depending on what the topic of the bill is, and then they start on the Senate side. Then they hear it in committee, and then they'll vote it out onto the floor. And so same thing. So then on the assembly, we are decide. We'll go in the caucus room. Like I said, the two parties separate, and we usually just eat our lunch in the caucus room, and we discuss the bills that might come up for a vote on the assembly floor. Some are contentious, some are not. I would say probably about 80 to 85% of the bills we pass are bipartisan. They're not controversial. They're,
Right.
kind of clean up or good things for the state. And so, we'll review that because you can't read every bill. It's very difficult. So we rely on our caucus members who are like, for example, we have a doctor who is part of the Health and Human Resources Committee. So she will report to us about the bill. And we kind of rely on each other from each other's committees to report to the caucus if they think a bill is good or bad. And so then we usually take that into account, and then we go to the floor and we'll vote on those. And then we have committee meetings in the afternoon. And so usually we don't leave the building till 5 or 6 every night. It's a very long day. And then when we have multiple deadlines, like when the assembly has to finish their bills and vote on them to go to the Senate, and likewise the Senate is doing the same thing, and then they send their bills to the assembly. So we have a couple deadlines when things have to be read in, when we have to get them voted out of committee, when we have to get them passed from one chamber to the next. And then those tend to be around that day or the night before. Very long days. We'll be there till 11 o'clock. I've been there till after midnight.
Wow.
For these deadlines. So it's actually a long day, and we'll leave the building.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, we'll leave the building like I said, 5 or 6, and then usually lobbyists or groups, whether they're environmental groups or they're healthcare groups or they're business groups, there almost every day there is a reception afterwards from these groups that come up to Carson City to testify in the bills. And so then you stop by the reception, then you go home and you collapse and you read the bills and you start your day over. So it's actually a pretty long day, and I don't think people realize the intensity or the work that goes into that when we're up there.
That is crazy. Yeah. And so is it like same thing with like in Congress where, in Washington where, and then the next step after the bill would go to the governor? Does he have to sign it too?
Yeah. So once we get it passed out of both chambers, then it has to go to the governor. And he has a choice to veto it. And he has a choice to sign the bill, or he has a choice to not sign the bill but not veto it. So then it's like he lets it go through, but he's not super excited about it. He's not super in favor of it. He's not giving it his endorsement, but so it can still pass as a bill if he doesn't veto it. Once it hits his desk, I can't remember, he has so many, I think, days to either veto it or and if he doesn't sign it, I think at the end of the session, after so many days, it still becomes law.
Okay. Well, that's cool. So it's like a mini Washington, except obviously Nevada.
Yes.
And,
mini Washington. That's right.
Yeah, it's like the same 3-step process. Starts with you guys, goes to the Senate, and then ends up at the governor, which in Washington that would be the president. Are you guys? I'm going to ask you a very direct question. Are you guys as supercharged politically, like polar opposites like Washington, or are you a little bit more friendly?
We are not as bad as Washington, thank goodness.
Oh,
so
good.
This is my third term. You're elected for 2 years every time. So this is my third term, and I would say when I got up there, my first term was during COVID, so everything was pretty screwy. We had to sit in our offices and not kind of mix and mingle too much. Yeah. And so that was kind of its whole own world, very unusual. But from what I heard, certainly before COVID, that people were just much more working together. Everybody was working together. It was more for the state. Unfortunately, I think the federal politics have kind of dribble down to the state level, which is unfortunate, so that there's a little bit more polarization, certainly not to the degree on the federal level. I have many friends across the aisle, and I could call them friends that are Democrats, and I know I'm a friend
good.
to them. And we've co-sponsored bills. We've worked on bills together. And I would say the majority of people there truly are serving with what I call a heart for Nevada. But there is a handful on both sides that are what I call megaphone politicians. That they're they want to make their next statement so they can put it on their Facebook or whatever.
Right.
And it doesn't take too long to figure who's there to make a statement that they can post on Facebook versus doing the work. But I would say the majority of people have a heart for doing what is right, and so I have many friends on both sides of the aisle, and I think that's how it should be, because if we're going to really work on legislation that makes a difference for all Nevadans, I think we always have to remember that. And I had multiple bills. I'm in the minority, and this is another thing that happens is like the other side that's in the power, the majority, will steal your bills. So I've had multiple bills that I introduced and brought forward that I had hearings on. I put all the work in. I had people testifying on the bills, and at the very end of the day, some of them don't have my name on them, but everybody knows they're Heidi Kasama's bills, because if they're good bills, the majority can, let's say once it goes to the Senate side, they can take it and put it in their name. So you'll see, and the Republicans did this too, whoever is in the majority, they have 2/3 of the bills that are passed, if not more, are the majority party's name on it versus the minority party. So it just gives them a win. So when they're running for their next race, they can say, "Oh, I passed all these things that really made life better." And so I had the state treasurer actually take one of my bills, and I actually called him up and I go, "It's my bill," and he goes, "No, I know." So
I know, I'm just feeling it.
I'm just feeling it. And so that's what happens. And, it was passed in his name. It was actually a Doctors for Nevada. Excuse me. And so I had a bill to attract doctors to the state of Nevada because we have such a shortage. And if you come here, my bills will help pay off some of your student debt. But anyway, so it's a great bill. And so, but he ended up passing it ultimately under his name, but it was the same title on the bill, everything, as
no
the
shame.
bill that I introduced. No shame.
Politics is the no shame business. As I told you before, fortunately for me, I hope, because you've won the primary, so you were up against, and I can't even think of his name right now, but he was a little brutal. And I'm speaking for everybody in 89135, okay? We know you. We know what you're about. Yeah. And if anybody can bring them together up there, it's you, because you have a really good way of dealing with people. Yeah. And politics is it's a shame. You know what? I thought, because I read a lot and listen to a lot of audiobooks, I thought this last 10 years has got to be the most polarized ever. But as I have read history books and so forth, it's not. It just seems it has different times where it gets a little bit more heated. But it's nice to hear that Nevada is not quite as heated as Washington, because, it doesn't even matter. If it's a good bill or not, if it's by one side, the other side's going to veto it. It's crazy.
I remember the chair of the committees, they have ultimate power. So whoever is the speaker or the majority leader in the Senate, either side, they appoint who is the committee chairs. And of course, they're all from the majority party, whoever that might be. And they have ultimate power to hear your bill or to pull it up for a vote. And so sometimes they have so much pressure from the public. Let's say it's a bill. We just had the Rebus bill for animal cruelty. And so that was heard in the Judiciary Committee, but it was never pulled up for a vote. So there was so much pressure from the public to hear this bill, and so many people came in and testified, and it was a very hot topic. But then the committee chair decided not to pull it up for vote. So you can even get it introduced in your committee. You can have hearings on it. It's up to the committee chair if they want to pull it up for a vote or not. So in this case, we'd passed a deadline, and the committee chair did not pull it up for a vote. she was inundated with phone calls, and people were so upset that she made an excuse why it didn't get to a vote for the deadline, which is, it's crazy because you have these rules in the state of Nevada, in our Constitution or in our regulation, how these bills should be heard. And somehow or another, she made an excuse, and then she was so inundated that she pulled up the bill for a vote after the deadline, which is like, you can't do that. And so, but
Right.
she did, because it would probably hurt her reelection or whatever. So it finally, and that bill finally did get through and get passed, and it didn't get stolen from the assemblywoman that introduced it. She was in the minority, so it's hard for us in the minority sometimes to get some of these bills through. But the committee chair has ultimate power too, so they can hear the bill, they can hear it, not pull it up for a vote. But typically they will poll the members, and of course, currently now our legislature, the Assembly and the Senate side are Democrat majorities. So the chair of a committee will poll their members, in this case the Democrat members of each committee, to see if they have votes for it. So they typically will never pull it up for a vote unless they have a majority that will approve it and vote yay to get it to the floor. So a lot of bills just die in committee, even though we spend time on it and visit about it. So it's a very fascinating world once you get into it. It's amazing.
It is amazing too, the way our country is in our states, and I think that's one of the things that makes us so unique too, is that our states every state's like its own little government, and then tied into the federal government, which that's why every state can be different, and you have some states where people are moving in, and some states where people are moving out based on local politics, and that's what makes our country even more unique, right?
Yeah, it's very true. You overtax people in certain states, they leave. And look at the influx we have. We're in real estate. I mean, like over 50% of people moving here, maybe not 50%, but close, are Californians. And why is that? Why is that?
Exactly.
So they are moving here because they don't like the taxes, the politics, and they're coming here because in their view, our housing is more affordable. In our view, it is not, but we know it's always a supply and demand issue. And those people have driven up the prices. I mean, many of us on this call have helped people from California. Are like, wow, this is a good price. No, actually, this house is overpriced for this community. And they're like, I'll make an offer on it. And so it escalates the prices in our communities. And people have all these reasons why, home prices have gone up here. I'm like, it's supply and demand. It's pretty
exactly
easy. People are willing to pay those. People are willing to pay those higher prices.
Well, when you're coming from, here's a funny thing. When I started with the company 12 years ago, the average sale price in Las Vegas was $125,000, and in Scottsdale it was $250,000, right? So it was like double. Well, during COVID, we had properties here selling for $75,000, $100,000 over asking, and I know specifically one in Scottsdale, North Scottsdale, that sold for $250,000 over asking, and people came from the Bay Area. So we've had some crazy real estate times here, and now it's kind of leveled out. A lot of people that haven't been licensed prior to 2018 think this is a buyer's market, but it's actually an even market.
I would say it's more of an even market.
Yeah, me too. It feels
I agree with that.
like, in the last 10 years, it feels the most like a buyer's market, probably the closest it's been, but technically by definition, it's still an even market.
Yeah, no. And we know, if a house is priced correctly and it's in good shape, it's attractive, good house, you'll still get it sold quickly here in our market. You'll get it sold in a week or two. And so
absolutely, and it's true. It's got to be priced because buyers have never been more educated than they are right now. You can't. Yeah. It's amazing how when you put a property on the market and it gets a lot of attention and sells quickly, it's because the price was right on. If it gets a little attention but no offers, you're close. But so it's definitely it's none of these things where we can always start high and maybe somebody will pay cash. No, everybody knows what your house is worth.
Yeah. I just because I am very active in real estate. I'm you are. Myself and my team. I'm I think frankly, one of the top people in Berkshire Hathaway, in the group there. And
You are.
but I just made an offer on a property for a client, which I thought was a little high, and I sent comps in with the offer, and I said, please educate me where you came up with this price. I always like to say that. Can you educate me where you came up with that price? Because I missed it, because I have these 3 or 4 comps that would reflect this price, which is reflected in my offer, is more what I think the reality of the market. And this guy wrote back, the listing agent, he goes, actually, that is actually the price I recommended my seller to list it at.
Wow.
So he was actually so honest. He goes, no, you're spot on. That's the price I think it should be. So, but they didn't take it. And now, so I have the same pain that all you do, listing, and they didn't take it. It is still sitting on the market. And now, sometimes sellers are greedy. You get an offer in the first 2 or 3 days, and they think, oh, wow, I'll get better offers. And I always like to, because I used to do training as well, as you know, Rick, and I always said,
yes,
you should educate your seller when you take a listing that the first offer is usually the best one.
Right.
And you have to have that talk before the offer comes in. Have that talk with your seller. The first offer is usually the best. And why is that? That means somebody is looking in that community. They're looking in that area. They're looking for that style house. They are your perfect buyer because they are attracted to that house for all of those reasons. And if you wait too long, let's say you're a month down there, now the buyer, particularly in our current market, they have 4 or 5 choices. So now they're going to bargain for the best one because they have 4 or 5 versus that was their favorite when they first wrote their first offer. And so, and I've gone through this so many times with our cycles and our markets. And so I told my client, I said, just let it sit. They're not going to get an offer like what we wrote. So just let it sit there for a few weeks and we'll come back. And I've done that before. And then we'll write a new offer for even lower than our first offer.
Right. And they'll take it a lot of times because they're healed.
They'll take it.
Right. And by the way, I looked at the list. You are, the list is a few weeks old, but by early May, you were number 3 in your office and number 10 in all of Nevada, your team. So congratulations.
Oh, well, there we go. Thank you very much.
There you go.
I didn't know
I was going to bring
good.
it up, but I was waiting. So congratulations there. But okay, well, final thoughts. Unfortunately, this half an hour flew by. Anything you want to leave them with as far as some goodies with the state or that they should need to know maybe?
So I thank you for asking. I do want to say something, and I hope for our listeners is it matters who you elect. It affects your life. Do your research on the party. I don't care what party. Do your research on the candidate. We have so many people running that are unqualified and truly don't care about the state. It's an ego thing, and so. Do your research, look at the background, make wise decisions because these people are voting on bills that affect your life. And you might skip the vote or the primary and don't think it's that important. And then you complain afterwards. It matters. So do your research, elect qualified people, find out their resume. And that once I'm in politics now, I see so many unqualified people that get elected just because whatever. They give better speeches than the next person, but they're unqualified. And so just please take that into account. And when it comes to real estate, be committed. Don't give up. It's like a plane going down the runway, and it's hard. It's hard to take off. And then once you take off, it's a slow climb up to the sky, but hang in there during that slow climb. And once you get up to the sky, you've made it. So you have to be committed. You have to spend the time. I used to always train with my agents. And I said, the day you get a referral is when you've made it in real estate. The first referral that comes in, you're in. You are going to make it in real estate because you did it right. People recognized you, and they're like, wow, she or he is really good at what you do. You should have that person help you with your real estate transaction. And so your first referral, hang in there till you get it, because then you're doing something right.
I remember you saying that, and I have agents that still say that to me and to other, you know, newer agents that they're working with. So that's a great way to look at it. You're the best. I really, I will be voting for you again in this next coming
Thank you, sir.
election,
Thank you.
Of course.
My realtor family, thank you. Vote for me.
Yes. And thank you very much for you and Peter coming out to the Sunshine Kid event. It was a big success.
Oh,
and I really appreciate you contributing. Yes.
Very good.
Tell him I said hi, too, okay?
I will.
Thank you, Heidi. You're the best.
Thanks.
Go get it.
All right, thanks.
We'll talk soon. Okay,
Bye.